Hi, everyone. My name is Johan, and I'm part of the team here at Pond. I want to welcome you to today's vendor demo session with Emily from Ethos. Before I turn it over to Emily, I wanted to quickly remind everyone that if you're interested in learning more about the solution, we encourage you to send Emily a Pond message. You can do this by logging into your Pond account, then navigating to the Ethos provider page and clicking send message. From there, you can get your questions answered or request a one-on-one meeting. And as a reminder, we'll put Pond credits in your account for every meeting arranged through the platform. Without further ado, let me turn it over to Emily to kick this off.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing your emails. Right now, there's nothing in my inbox, and I cannot wait to have some Pond messages. So thank you so much, Johan. Really appreciate it. Really looking forward to questions also. So we're going to go through our presentation, but if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. Would love for this to be interactive and value add for you all as well. So before I show you the system, I wanted to give you 90 seconds on who I am and why I built this, because I think it provides a lot of context for the demo that you're about to see. I am a regulatory lawyer by background. I joke that I didn't know how to spell CSR or corporate social responsibility in law school. And when I started my career, it was at the beginning of the Great Recession, and all of the cool public interest jobs that I thought would be my path disappeared within like a week and a half. And I needed to reinvent myself. And so I got an early opportunity to work at a big corporation here in California. It was privately held. The business was very focused on giving back. And I really drank the Kool-Aid that if you put your shoulder to the wheel of doing good and leaders are behind the work and dedicated, it can make a big difference. And we didn't just deploy philanthropic capital. We also thought about how can we work with our supply chain? How can we think about ourselves as a technical expert and train talent in a region that didn't have a lot of workforce development opportunity? How can we use our political relationships? How can we think about impact investment and I really, as I said, became an evangelist for this type of work. About 3 years ago, I started my own firm called Ethos Giving. And now instead of being in-house, we work with clients who are families and businesses that are all thinking about how to give back in this wide lens way. I know you're thinking, why are you on the phone with nonprofit leaders? And I will answer that question. So hold with me, people. But through this work in-house and now with our client base, I kept saying, I need QuickBooks for social good. I need a one-stop shop where I can put all of our data, again, related to philanthropy, related to activations, social media likes, impact investment, political giving, all in one place, so that when I run a report to say, what's everything we did in Southern California, or what's everything we did for homelessness, I can really find the answer to that. Couldn't find it, and so we built it, which is what Ethos Tracking is. As we were in development on the project a year ago, we quickly identified, yes, this is beneficial for donors, it's beneficial for corporations, but it's also uniquely valuable for nonprofits. And so we created a version of Ethos Tracking that's specifically for the nonprofit community, which is what I'm going to show you today. But the big idea here is that we know that you are the originators of doing good in communities, and do it in all sorts of ways. And to wrap your arms around that data can be complicated. And so the big idea here is, how can we have the system put some elbow grease into the collection and the data management so that you all can focus on the work. So if there's any questions, put them in the chat, but I will show you what we're talking about. And I'm also, I'll say, happy to take specific questions to your issue areas, or questions that are specific to your organization. So if you want to kind of get into the weeds on any of your data, we can do that at the end as well. So welcome to Ethos Tracking. Each of our partners has their own unique site. This is all set up with fictitious data for a nonprofit that's focused on food justice and healthy food access, but you'll see very quickly how this could be beneficial for any organization that works on any issue. So let me orient you to how we think about information. On the right side, you'll see what we call our levers. As I mentioned, we really believe that organizations are doing lots of work in different ways. That's what we call levers. You're pulling levers to make value. And I'll walk through these and explain kind of what we mean, and then we'll dip into the records and show you how we establish the data sets. So first is cash out the door. I know, and we have a fundraising lever as well, a lot of us are focused on bringing money in, but thinking about how you deploy your working capital and who you share and partner with from a dollars perspective might be interesting and important, and we can help you track that information. We can also help you track in kind. So what's coming in, not just from a cash perspective, but from a donations perspective, whether those be time that people are offering services or products that people are offering, and how that information can help you build relationships and help you explain how you're deploying capital. Volunteerism, this can be tracking volunteer hours that are coming into your organization, and it can also be tracking volunteer hours that you are putting out into the world, either with your community or with folks that you're organizing. Advocacy obviously is public policy work that you're doing at a local, state, or federal level. And we help you track the value of the time, the energy, the petition signatures that you may gather. Again, I know we have C3s on the phone, but you may be doing work in the advocacy space that's outside of the C4 landscape. But we also look at this as private sector advocacy. So you may be working with chambers of commerce. You may be working with trade associations or other kinds of partners where you say, hey, we have a vision for how you can make the world a better place. Let us help you draft the motion. Let us show you why this matters to your constituents. And anything that you're doing in that work, we help you track and manage. Employee initiatives. Some of your organizations are large, and you're actually thinking about how to flex your impact muscle with and for your employees. This may be sort of more HR model work, like wellness packages, or helping with people who are going to grad school, have access to resources, or time away from the office. It may be other things that you're doing to help grow the pie and help train people on the issues that you care about. Community is what we describe as hearts and minds work. So this can be brick and mortar. Maybe you're doing an activation at a specific location or at your hub. You may also be doing this hearts and minds work online. We have partners that are probably doing more in TikTok or in Instagram than they are doing live. And if you're getting people to move on specific issues or learn or care about things through clicks and likes, we can show how that work works. And when you're putting together a larger portfolio to say, here's everything that we did on this issue this year, including social media and how you flex your social media presence or your brick and mortar presence, can be meaningful and powerful. DEI is obviously a major issue where so many folks are looking to build value and to create a stronger ecosystem. And we believe that as you're measuring and managing the way that you're making the world a better place, this data fits in this ecosystem as well. So we have a space to track that. Supply chain, depending on who you are and what you do, you may have big contracts where you're working with partners. Maybe you move some of those contracts to values aligned vendors and thinking about, whether that be from a sustainability perspective, from a workforce development perspective, from an economic engine perspective, how you're thinking about your dollars and how you're flexing them. And if you are in a meaningful and dynamic way, helping you track that. Sustainability, very similar to supply chain. If you are thinking about how to use greener energy sources, you're putting solar on roofs. Maybe you have cars that are part of your fleet where people are actually going and coming. You switch those to electric, or you switch those to hybrid. Those are all things that you're doing as an organization. Again, let us help you track and manage that in one place so that you're not pulling for different straws from various parts of your organization or from institutional knowledge. Partnerships is an above and beyond volunteerism space. So do you have partners, whether those be other nonprofits or for-profits or even government leaders in the community, who are a big part of who you are and your success as an organization? Are people serving on your board? Are you putting out public service announcements together with a brand or with a community leader? That's what we identify as partnerships. And again, we help you track and manage that data differently than you would say volunteerism, because it's not really about the hours, it's about the momentum and about the impact. And we help you identify that. Some nonprofits actually have a sales function that may be that may be a cottage industry. We've got a really cool organization here in Los Angeles that called Homeboys Industry, and they've got a whole food component where they're making salsa, they're making jam, they're making bread, so tracking the value of not only the sales and the dollars, but also the people who were involved in the workforce development pipeline related to that work can be relevant if that's something that your organization does. Activation is what we call the actual work of your work. So if you're doing programs, if you're educating, whatever it is that your nonprofit is set out to do from a mission perspective, and you want to track that, we help you track that. And then for some of our partners, they actually have working capital that they're putting in through impact investments into other partnerships in their organization. Again, if this is relevant to anyone on this call, we can kind of get into the details. But the best example is if you have a corpus, an endowment that you're investing, you're able to actually put some of those funds into for-profit organizations that are part of your ecosystem. Let's say you're working on community redevelopment and you want to help a coffee shop launch on a block that matters to you. That would be an impact investment that we could help you track and manage here. So just to show you what this actually looks like from a record keeping perspective, we know that your teams are busy and we know that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And we wanted to make sure that there was a standardized model for how you brought data in and how you tagged it so that, people always say garbage in, garbage out. We want awesome in, awesome out. So how can we make sure that you're bringing your information in a way that's really clear, even if it's being put in by an intern or by someone who's a senior leader, that everyone's looking at it through the same lens. And that's where we created our record system. So I say it's like Mad Libs, right? Like you know what to fill in. And we also lock terms. So if somebody calls, an issue fighting hunger, or someone else calls it hunger, that doesn't work because you have sort of this double entry. We create terminology with you at the top so that your issues and your nomenclature lock in and you don't have any, double accounting or dilution of information that comes about when you don't have your terms set. So just to take you through the system very quickly, on the front page, and I'll show you it again just so you can see it, we have campaigns, which are roll-ups of our data, and we have projects, which is our roll-up of data, and we'll show you that at the end. But each record allows you at the very top to include whether this is part of a campaign and whether this is part of a project, so that any information in this record actually zooms up to those bigger data sets. We can help you track by team. We can help you track by issue area. So I'm sure folks on the call have put information into data sets before. Every data program that I've ever used lets you pick one issue area. And that always drove me nuts because we all know that this work is multifaceted. And so our system allows you to pick a primary issue area that rolls up to your pie charts and your bar charts, but also allows you to pick as many secondary issue areas as you want, because we know that there's many that are relevant. And this way, when we run a report, even if animal rights wasn't the primary reason that we engaged on this matter, we can still grab that when we run a report for donors or for other core constituents. All of these issue areas, again, are set by you all. So they're completely customizable. And we sit down with you at the beginning to identify what is your work. If you're working on hunger and that's your exclusive area, hunger probably is too wide terminology. So we would actually be able to really help you grow your information and talk about hunger as it relates to youth, hunger as it relates to seniors, hunger as it relates to families, et cetera. If you have major donor partners, we can tag those major donor partners. So this is obviously an example from a partner who would be in Boston. You see your Dunkin', you see your Red Sox. But if you've got, any number of major donor partners, we can put them here. So you don't have to go and look after the fact to say, hey, how do we put together a report for the Red Sox Foundation? We can tag that on the front end and hey, we did these 10 programs because of Red Sox benefit resources, and we can go and run that report after so that you're able to get that very quickly. You can tag the city and state, but you can also tag regions. So if you're a national organization and you want to look at things West Coast, Central, East Coast, we can tag that. If you're an organization in a county and you actually want to break the county up into sections or run it by districts, however it makes sense to you, we can run those reports. Again, I used to work at a place where I wanted to run a specific regional report and the system didn't let me, and I wanted to fix and have Ethos Tracking be able to do that for our partners. This should look familiar. We've got our organization internal contact. We have the contacts for our external partners. We're able to say what the business type is. So if we're working with a C3, a C4, a B corporation, you're able to track and manage that information. In this instance, you're able to see what the donation was, what the check was for. And here we're asking, what are the deliverables? So we don't just help you identify what did we do historically, but why did we do it and is it working? So in this example, we wanted to show you a partner that had a food justice related grant that involved providing healthy meals, that involved doing a healthy food literacy class, and involved doing some cool parenting cooking classes. And all of this information was tracked to a goal. So we wanted 50,000 meals or 100 classes. And the system allows you to collect this data month over month, week over week, quarter over quarter, year over year, whatever you set it as. And this information can come in 4 ways. Number one, it can come in through somebody who has a login to your system. So that could be you or someone on your team or an intern who's actually putting it in manually. That totally works. It can come in through survey. So let's say you have either an internal partner or an external partner who's responsible for this data. You can send them, again, weekly, quarterly, annually, whatever your model is, a survey that comes in through Ethos tracking. It's very similar to SurveyMonkey, but it's organic to our system. And it will say, hey, Joe, how's it going with the meals? How's it going with the classes? How's it going with the cooking classes? And then on a monthly basis, you'll get the data that you're looking for. You can have a number of fields here. So if you want to have notes, if you want to know what did you serve, if you want to know, what did the kids like, you're able to put that here. You're also able to ask not just for this quantitative data, but qualitative data. So if you have key communications, if you have photos that you're asking for, if you have Vimeo links that you want to see, they can all come in as well. And in this way, you're getting information in one bucket. I'm sure all of you have lived this. 6 months goes by, 18 months goes by, and you're like, where's the photo of Sally in our, big end of year culmination program or whatever it is. And it gets lost because someone leaves the organization or, we just didn't know where it got put. We wanted to make sure that all of your institutional memory could live in the record as well. So all of this data then rolls up into your projects and your campaigns if you wish. So let's pretend that, your organization is, again, this healthy food program, and they're doing a number of cooking classes. You're able to get all of your cooking classes in one place and then click in and figure out, okay, how's it going for Howard Elementary? Great, they've done 4 out of the 10. And if you want to see what it looks like in a pie chart version, we've got it right here. And so we're able to say, okay, of the 25 cooking classes that we've already done, here's what's happening in Austin, here's what's happening in Dallas, here's what's happening in Houston. So you can have the data visualized and packaged, ready for you at your fingertips. We know that not all of the information is going to come in project view. Some of it you'll want to stack, and that's what we call our campaign view. So in this example, we said, okay, from a food justice perspective, here's all the money that we've brought in. Here are all of the actual food programs that we've launched from a food donation perspective. We've also done some advocacy on legislation related to food access. And then we've also got these cooking classes. All of this can come in, you're able to see it from a bird's eye view, but you're also able to go in and look at it through a deeper view. So in this way, you can come in and say, okay, I don't want to just look at the pie charts and the bar charts. I want to see everything that we did for food justice and see it at your fingertips. So if you did one thing for in-kind or one thing for volunteerism, it's all there. If you have a partner or a reporter or a board member who's calling, you have it all at your fingertips. We also know that sometimes it's hard to remember everything that's on your to-do list. All of our reminders are set in records and they bubble up to the front. So if you and your team are busy, you need to remember when a ribbon cutting or a grant report or something important is due, you can have it right here. You can assign it to colleagues that are on the system. And you can also print this out or export it if you have a meeting or you want to share it internally. We also know that despite your best efforts in staying really organized and having all your projects really, really organized and having all your campaigns ready to go, someone is going to call you. Again, it's going to be a board member or your boss or a reporter or an elected official. And they're going to say, hey, what's everything that you've done for hunger in my community? And you'll be able to say, give me a second. I'm going to be able to tell you that we did one hunger area opportunity in Austin, Texas. Again, you saw that there were 61 records here with 10 seconds. You're able to filter any of the issue areas that I shared. So geography, donor, major donor name, issue area, location, organization. So if you wanted to know what's going on, with this Austin band group, at your fingertips. And again, if we had more records here, you'd be able to grab everything related to advocacy, everything related to fundraising, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that you're able to really have 100% of your information in one place at your fingertips. We believe that this is, uniquely beneficial for nonprofits because you all have so much going on and are constantly being asked to pivot. And so rather than have a data set for elected officials or for grants that are public grants, and a data set that's for private grantees or foundations, and a data set that's for, your board, we can have all of the information and records in one place, and then use that one hub as an ability to filter out, okay, this is the type of information that I need for this foundation. This is the type of information that I need for this senator, et cetera. And you can plug and play this information really as, regularly as you like. So I will pause and see, I know we went through that pretty quickly. If there are any drill down questions for anyone that's on the line, I'm just looking at the chat. I don't see any specific questions. And we can also go in again to details related to your specific questions related to data, if that's helpful.
Emily, I have one kind of general question. What size orgs do you think this makes the most sense for? Is there, like, for those watching this either live or recorded, like, how do they know if Ethos is right for me?
It's a great question. And I would say it's less about the size from a budget perspective and more about how you're set up programmatically. So I always go like this, like it's like wrapping your arms. So if you're an organization that's really wrapping your arms around a lot of people, a lot of programs, a lot of data, whether you're running a $300,000 budget or a, $30 million budget, I think Ethos tracking has a tremendous amount of value. So if data collection and if information sharing is a pain point, this is a helpful tool. If you're, primarily a fundraising organization and you're, very happy with Razor's Edge, and that's really the only data that you need, you probably don't need Ethos tracking, right? So I would say if you're doing a lot in volunteerism, if you're doing a lot in communications, if you're doing a lot in, creating advocacy on various channels, including social media, and you want to really see how you're moving the needle and where your impact's emanating from, this I think is a uniquely valuable tool for you. The other thing that I'll say is if you're an organization that has multiple chapters, that really can run the gamut on any kind of topical area. But if you're trying to say, hey, we've got 30 partners across the country that are all sort of lining up around specific ideas or specific activations, and we want to help those people stay organized and make sure that we know what our local chapter partners and our local affiliates are up to, this tool is also, I think, uniquely beneficial for that model, if there's anyone on the call or watching that's relevant for.
Very cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And I'm watching the chat, but I'll answer a few questions that we've gotten from nonprofit partners over time. One question was around sort of CRM and, how you utilize the tool and flex it with that in mind. If you are an organization that's working with a constituency to help them engage and activate, whatever those activations are. We work with a nonprofit out of Minnesota that's helping to support, financial literacy and economic development among their core constituencies. They've actually set up Ethos tracking, and they have records for each young woman who's a participant within their organization. And all of those deliverables relate to, hey, we want this person to do 20 things this year. Have they done those 20 things? And how is it going? And, are they on target? And so we've actually used those deliverables as a way to really engage around data and also help the leadership who's helping to track, dozens and dozens of girls have a wider view, a more bird's eye view of who needs support where, because you're able to sort of see the data in a, again, bar chart or pie chart. You can see where you need to dip in and who you need to double click with much more quickly than if you're getting the information over email or it's in a Google sheet that you may or may not be looking at on a regular basis. Another question that we've had specifically relates to the donor piece. So we know that there are donors that have, a desire to really understand a regional impact or to understand an issue area impact. And they may or may not be used to receiving information, really related to the broader work. And so the question has been, hey, this person gave us a grant to do this programmatic work in Boston. Do you think it makes sense to show them the volunteerism we've done in Boston, or other activations we've done in Boston outside of this effort, now that it's easier for us to access that? And we say, yes, that if this information is shareable, to give your donor partners a really comprehensive report around the issues or the communities that they care about has a tremendous benefit and creates more stickiness. We just got a question about onboarding process. So I have joined onto a number of systems in my career, and it can be terrifying. We wanted to create like the warmest, easiest experience possible. So we have a customer success specialist that works with all of our new partners. It's included in the package. You get about 10 to 15 hours, depending on what you need of support. We actually sit down with you and walk through our system and your data and bring all of the information that you want to upload that's historical, and also set all of your key terms on the front end, so that when you get your login, you are ready to roll and it has all of your historical information and is already built out for you. In addition to that, we hold office hours, and we are, there to be a phone a friend. Certainly we're there to support on the technical side, but at the end of the day, this is emanating from a social impact firm. And so we're also there to nerd out on some of the more interesting questions around impact and data management and data measurement, and how we help think through that on our end, and offer, whatever advice and support we can on that piece as well. Johan, any other questions? Oh, thanks, Kara. Appreciate that.
No, I think that is all that has come in through the chat. Maybe if you could help do just a high level thinking, helping people contextualize pricing. We've got a bunch of different folks talk. When you get the specifics, but like, is it on a per issue basis? Is it an org size basis? That would be really helpful.
Sure. Really appreciate it. So we want this to be a value add tool that's quite affordable. We work with our nonprofit partners. For those that have $1 million budget or below, we can be quite flexible. Generally speaking, this is about $10K for NPOs annually. You get unlimited license access. So that means all the logins, all the levers, all the functionality. I didn't want to build a tool that was like, and then when you pay more, you get this snazzy thing. So, the tool is the tool is the tool. And once you're in, you're in. And we also have additional services that we can provide if you want to have support with impact reports or board reports or op-eds. That's not included, but we do have a turnkey menu with communications partners. So if you're looking for additional support of like, great, I've got all this data in one place, how do I turn it into beautiful content, we can help you with that as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, just to close out, we really believe that data can set you free. I know this is overwhelming. There's a lot of information here. I should also say you can make this your own. So if there's 6 levers that are relevant for you and the rest of them aren't, you don't have to see those levers. That's no problem. And I think once you're able to really wrap your arms around the information, it can help organizations be much more strategic and really advance the goals on their mission, which is why we're so excited to see nonprofits take the reins with Ethos tracking and grow the impact, because that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Emily, for the demo today. I just dropped the Ethos tracking link in the chat for anyone who wants to check them out or send Emily a message on Pond. And thanks for being part of Camp Impact. Really happy to have you part of it, and appreciate you sponsoring.
Absolutely happy to. And anyone who didn't see it, the taco content was really cool, and I think helped to really show how an NPO puts this tool to use. And Amanda's awesome. So if you need a dose of inspiration, definitely check that out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Emily. Appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you.